Hello? Who's there? Oh, another would-be adventurer. So what brings you here? Looking for fame? Glory? Redemption, perhaps? Either way, you've come all this way. To learn a little bit about the Widowmakers, I assume. Us. I knew of them. Could say I traveled with them for some time. I warn you, though, this is a long story. May not be able to tell it all in just one sitting. So go ahead, grab a seat. Now, where do I begin? I suppose the story starts before I even joined. Many say it was a fateful fluke, the meeting. This was way back in the year of 5219, in a little shithole known as Gutterport, the rotting, pus-infected pearl of the Celadon Sea. That's where they met. That's where the original five came to be known as the Strangers. You can thank me for that little nickname, by the way. First, you had Kaz, the eccentric smartass, and honestly, too goddamn clever for his own good. Orphaned after he lost his parents during the Second Surface War. He wandered for a while as a pirate, sex worker, assassin. You know, usual old elf shit. I jest. Gutterport was kind of a home to Kaz. He stayed at a place known as the Moth's Lantern, a brothel. Well, mostly a brothel. It was also a headquarters for an assassin's guild, ran by the elusive and seductive Madam Moth. It was here he discovered a political plot to start a war in the north between Venalia and the kingdoms of Westhold. Then we have Smallvross, the mean, the green, half-orc, but by the gods, or should I say Tempest, don't ever let him hear you say the half part. He was full orc, through and through, in his eyes at least. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't speak too much with him. Traveled for some time, he mostly kept to himself. All I can tell you about him is he had a faith, blind, unwavering, stupid faith. There is more to his story, but that's a little further down our journey. Of course, who can forget about Lavender? Very strange and unusual case of a human boy who grew up in the Feywild. To this day, I still don't know why that man was in Gutterport, but I assure you, I'm glad he was. Somehow the boy fell hook, line, and sinker, got him mixed up with some real rough people. The Carpenter's gang, if I recall. Unbeknownst to him, this was part of the whole war plot that Kaz was working on. Of course, my personal favorite, Captain Jezebel Savant. A real foul-mouthed bitch, tiefling, and from a good family in Aronia. I'm biased, of course. I knew her before this whole event happened. She was in Gutterport for one reason, to find her good-for-nothing scoundrel husband Shiv, a pirate lord. And that's where I knew her. You see, I was one of Shiv's crew members. Navigator, actually. He left Jez, marooned, in her hometown, after they had raided it and killed her father. Of course, she got wind that the Carpenter had information on where to find him. So that's how she wound up meeting Lavender and Kaz. But certainly not the least, we have Fulner, the halfling from Umadil. And let me tell you something. I could not fucking stand this guy for years. I purposely ignored him and avoided him at all costs. He thought he was a giant. He was constantly insulting people, never understood what the fuck he was saying. He was always throwing cannonballs on the ship deck. He smelled like onions. But he was an amazing cook, and one hell of a scrapper. I in time learned to enjoy his company. One of the best drinking buddies a mate could have. He was actually hired by Jez to go into town or deal with folks who might recognize her as a pirate. And just like that, these 5 were working for Fentis Merryway to uncover this war plot. Someone in Westhold had hired a group of death tongues, group of murderous cultists to retrieve an old Venalia map made from the backskin of an orc war chief, Gallic the Grey, if I recall. It was in transit to be ambushed and used to rally banners against Venalia. All the 5 had to do was intercept and pick it up. If only it was that easy. It's never that easy. The info was wrong. All wrong. The convo not only had the map, but was being transported by the second oldest prince of Venalia. The target was never the map. They hit the prince. By the time the 5 arrived, Prince Orin was already dead. To make matters worse, they were set up. A group of Aurunian soldiers came upon them and took them for the would-be assassins. 5 spent the next several days as fugitives, working with Fentis to try to clear their names and protect Fentis from assassination. Turns out the Trader Council was working with Westhold to eliminate key targets so they could seize the country for themselves. Since Aronia had no ruler, the 5 foiled the Trade Council's plan, and they were brought to justice. This is where I sorta came in. Shiv crashed the Merchant's Gala to steal a necklace from an elf, Larician Darlo, the Mage of Neve. Much like myself now. An Archelon cell. Basically, it's similar to a Mythalar, but a more compact level. Well, I was there to act as a decoy, to infiltrate Jezebel's party. Still not sure to this day if Shiv actually planned for that. If only Jez knew what was really going on with Shiv at that time. After the gala, they then discovered that Fentis would meet King Anson of Venalia in the capital of Lockmore, where he would declare Fentis ruler by proxy, and Venalia would lay claim to Aronia. Fentis killed all who would oppose the new order, leaving him in charge, seizing the land in Venalia's name. And just like that, a war had begun. The 5 wanted absolutely no part of this political bullshit. And with Shiv being so close by, Jez wouldn't miss the opportunity to chase him down to the Strand. That's Marauder's Strand, in case you didn't know. Chain of islands off the southern coast of Avondor. Turns out Kaz sailed with Jezebel's uncle, Arthur, who had traveled north to Ravensgrin to retire. Jez's hometown, and the place Shiv left her that night her father died. To make matters even worse, they discovered a band of centaurs traveling along the coast. With Ravensgrin in their sights, they were following some beast they called the Horn God. When they arrived at Ravensgrin, they met with Jez's mother. Arthur had gone missing, and it was up to them to find him. We found him in a cave, Fisher Mine, near death. With his final words, he warned Jez of the dangers in the Strand. Kaz also met with the Umbral Court, a group of drow looking to overthrow the matriarchal underdog. Back in Ravensgrin, Jezebel's mother was batshit insane, part of some cult that performed the assassinations of Prince Orin. They used some entity known as the Dreamer, put the whole town asleep, tried to sacrifice them to some dark god. We stopped the sacrifice, but the town was still under the spell of eternal sleep. Thankfully, a powerful witch lived in the meadows nearby. Agreed to help us on one condition. Smalvros was to give her a child to bear. No, I'm not saying having sex with a witch to save a town is a good thing, but we didn't consider what that child would become. But, you know, we had a town full of people about to be torched by centaurs. When the time came, by the skin of our teeth, we repelled the centaurs, saved the town, with a big thanks to Daromir, some goody two-shoes who had the hots for Jez. After that, we took Arthur's ship and set sail to the Strand. And it turns out that Larician Darlo wasn't just a mage from Neve. but also part of a covenant known as the Covenant of Thorns, a secret elven order that tracked down lost elven artifacts, specifically elven gates, old magical portals the ancient elves used for transport. He took Kaz under his wing, told him that his grandmother, Matron Vicious, was working with Old Bela, a bunch of fascist tiefling from across the sea, hell-bent on conquest. Once we arrived at the Strand, that's when we had to get two things. One, track down Shiv, and two, we needed magical sails if we were going to cover enough sea in a short amount of time. So we met with Granny Zegwe, an old seamstress, a hermit of a woman. Everyone knew she was odd. The pirates had been using her for years, yet she never aged. She gave us a task to recover some flowers off the back of some great beast. What she failed to say was that great beast was actually a dragon named Zalgareth. In the Shadowfell, no less. We had to play a game with Zalgareth, a gauntlet race, with another crew in order to survive. And we lost. Fortunately, we cut a deal with Zalgareth. We freed him from his prison that Granny Zegwe had put him in, and got our flowers. With our sails in hand after we returned to Granny Zegwe, we set off to get some more pirates for the crew. Scuttleport. Ha! What a piss-dribble town. Pardon my language, it's the old sailor in me coming out. We found a band of degenerates who were willing to go out on this goose chase. That's when we sailed to uncharted islands to meet with Jethro, another pirate lord. Helped us at Ravensgrin. When we arrived, however, Jethro got himself murked by the locals, and we met with Carter, the Slayer, and his Zenithian, first I had ever met. We helped him with his quest, and in return, revealed that he was there for us the whole time. He had gifts with him from the merchant of Etros, another pirate lord, but more of a businessman. These gifts were all things from our past, or things we sought dearly. Clever bastard. Really knew how to get under your skin. So, we were off to Etros. Magnificent city, really. Wonderful meridian food, bazaars with goods from all over the world, the sweet aroma of exotic spices and scents, minstrels singing ballads on rooftops, on the warm, airy nights. It's no wonder they deem it the city of love. But nothing stays lovely for us. We met with the merchant. Of course, it was going to be more complicated. It was blackmail. We do something for him, and in return, helps us with our personal goals. Turns out another pirate lord, Calypso, was working with Old Bela to put a foothold in the Strand. We agreed, and in the process discovered a little bit more about all of us. Lovende being the lost son of the former king of Bolstead. Kaz reunited with a lost love. Fulner learned of the giant prophecy to restore Astoria. Smalvros learned of the war crimes committed against the Orcish kind to the north. And Jez discovered Shiv's plot to unite the pirate lords in search for this ancient lost city of Azeltivado. Now this is where I need to come clean in the story. I was working with Shiv the whole time, and I lied to Jez. I had to throw her off his trail, and keep her busy thinking he wanted to be a pirate king. Part of me thinks that was actually part of the plan, but the real reason was Shiv was a warlock, made a pact with a Cracklich to save his life. In return, the beast would take everyone the man loves. And when he found out that it was coming for Jez, well, sort of kicked it all off. We spent months on the sea, looking for pirate lords, and following leads that could go anywhere, any which way. Even down to an underwater mining facility. Gained a lot of crew, lost some along the way. Smalvros was the first, sucked up in a terrible mana storm. When we blew the facility, tore the ocean asunder. The storm wound. Have you ever heard of it? Yeah, that was us. We even got gobbled up by a primordial beast. Met a strange race of crab people and sea giants, all while slowly making our way to Zeltivado. Lavende became a failing during this time as well. Discovered the demon lord Zuckmoy has plans for the strange prince. Still, we tracked on, and finally escaping the beast, Kaz lost himself to elven magic. His mind became fused with the memories of the former king of Zeltivado, Eliaphel. Slowly his memories returned, and like that, the Kaz we knew was gone. By the time we finally made it to Zeltivado, we discovered the land was trapped in some sort of demiplane, frozen in time. The mad son of Eliaphel, King Selamor, thought the ancient Netherese were still a threat waiting to destroy him and his people. We defeated him and confronted Shiv, and with our help, we came face to face with his patron, the vile, hideous undead beast. In the end, we prevailed, but she had made a pact of her own to kill Shiv, a bargain with the vile archdevil Levistus. In his last effort, Shiv forced Jez to take his life and free her from her pact. So stricken with grief, Jez made a new deal. Help free Levistus from his imprisonment, tear away his bonds, and he would return Shiv's soul back to living. So there we were, heroes of a lost civilization, of sun elves now returned after thousands of years held against their will. We were the Dawnbringers, the strangers. We were the Widowmakers. With Jez as the pirate queen. Our story, well, is far, far from over. But that is for another time.